Blog Talk Radio.
We interrupt this broadcast for an emergency announcement. A massive earthquake. The flood has reached. All roads into and out of are closed. No medical services. Store shelves have been stripped.
What's coming? Are you ready? You are at the right place to hear the best ways to stay safe and weather the coming storm. Welcome to Power Preppers. Here is your host, Patricia Baker.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Power Preppers. I am your host, Patricia Baker, and my mission is to make getting prepared for any emergency easy and efficient. So get informed and get prepared. Now, please remember to sign up for our newsletter at supernaturalgirls.com, and that way you'll be able to get all the latest show information, discounts, and giveaways for both Power Preppers Radio and Supernatural Girls Radio. And we've got some great discounts on the site right now from Max Health Labs and the Organic Wine Company, so please make sure to go visit that page and take advantage of those discounts. This Saturday on Supernatural Girls, we are bringing back, by popular demand, Timothy Wiley. Now, Timothy is an author and an expert on the topic of fallen angels. And this got a huge response when we had him on last time. So we're bringing him back this Saturday night, and this will also, sadly enough, be host Helene Olsen's last show. So be sure to join us for a great send-off for Helene and a terrific interview with Timothy Wiley, and we welcome your questions on the air, so feel free to call in and ask any question of Timothy, and I'm sure he'll be happy to speak with you right on the air. Now, next week, I will be welcoming Becky Andreasen as my new co-host, so be sure to join us this Saturday and every Saturday night, 9 to 11 Eastern Time. Now, today, we have a very important show for you. I mean, all our shows are great, all our guests are experts, but this one is truly, I think, the most important show I could ever do for the audience, How to Survive a Home Invasion. And that's with our security expert, Steve Minguez. Now, according to the FBI, there is a home invasion about every 12 seconds. So this is a very popular event for criminals. And what we need to know is, what should we do to save our own lives and the lives of our family? Now, Steve, let me tell you a little bit about him. He's tremendously qualified. He's a former member of the New York City Police Department with 27 years' experience as a Senior Firearms Instructor and member of the Intelligence Division Dignitary Protection Unit. Now, Steve was also Senior Instructor in charge of the Emergency Service Unit for 12 years. He developed numerous training programs that included advanced firearms training, hostage rescue, dignitary protection, counter-assault team tactics, CQB training, sniper training, active shooter, waterborne operations, and interagency operations. He has conducted training and established anti-terrorism deployments. He is a New York State Firearms Instructor and holds many other certifications. And he has trained numerous police and military units from around the world. So we really could not have a better guest on the air to help us stay safe and find out what we need to do during a home invasion to save our lives and the lives of our family. So welcome, Steve Minguez. You are live on the air.
Hi, Patricia. How are you?
I'm doing well today on Halloween, and how are you doing?
Oh, doing great. Thank you.
Good. Well, I'm so privileged to have you on the air with us again, and this time to talk about how to survive a home invasion, which, again, according to the FBI, this is happening every 12 seconds. That's, like, pretty frequent. And they're also saying, this is the one that got me, though, the statistics you sent over, I reviewed them all, and what really upset me was when I saw that only 12.4% of these people that do this are ever caught, charged, and convicted. That's pretty sad. So we've got to learn from you what we can do to stay safe. And on our previous show, you talked about rings of protection, so I thought maybe we could start there and just do a quick review of rings of protection, a security gate. We talked about driveway alarm, those types of things, lighting. So if we could just do a review of that and then go into the home invasion scenario, I think that would be wonderful.
Well, and as a security measure that would pertain to this / burglary, having a well-lit home, geez, you're coming home at the end of the day and you want to be able to see what the surroundings are. An early warning device that you would have in the house to alert you that anyone is coming up the driveway or at the front door, things of this nature. Essentially, what you're trying to accomplish here is and I'm going to be repeating this phrase, you want to slow them down from getting in, or hopefully not getting in at all.
Right.
You have to have a heightened sense of awareness, and you need, and I keep saying this in every show I've been repeating this, you have to be aware of your surroundings. Okay? That is, it's paramount.
It is, because, I mean, so many times we're going about our day in a fog and we're not paying attention to what's around us. And I know you mentioned to me previously there's something, besides a home invasion, there's something called a push-in. Now, can you tell us a little bit about that and what happens during a situation like that?
Well, listeners understand that the phrase now is home invasion. To me, it really doesn't drive the point across of really what's happening here. These people are entering the home. It's not just a snatch and grab of a wallet. Excuse me. They're not just looking for merchandise anymore. We're talking about robbery, rape, sodomy, kidnapping. So when you start using those words, you really start getting the point across of what's happening here. Murder. I've had some accounts where it's gotten back to me where these people have gone into homes and actually have taken 2-year-old children and thrown them off the top of a staircase, and just literally splattered them on a wall. So using that phrase, home invasion, to me is putting it mildly. Okay? You really have to really get it in your head, meaning the listener, that this is serious stuff here, okay?
Right. And it is. I mean, there have been really horrible and widely reported home invasions, even locally here in the Connecticut area. There was one a couple of years ago with a physician and his wife and his 2 children, and it was exactly what you described. Everything horrible that could have happened did. So it's, again, bringing people's awareness to this horrible event and what we can do. What do we do in situations like this? So first and foremost, what you're saying is get your security stuff
You had mentioned a push-in. There are several methods that are utilized. They may follow you home from shopping. Hey, you're coming home with I mentioned nice computer, some beautiful items from Christmas shopping. You just came out of a bank and you're counting a big wad of cash in your hand, so you may get followed home. Okay, your attacker follows you to your residence, and as you're opening the door, they're pushing in behind you to enter the residence. Okay, that's basically what a push-in is.
So they don't even have to break down the door. They wait for you to unlock it, then they push it in right behind you, and then they're off and running in your house with you there.
Exactly. Okay. Then you have the situation where the door is being kicked in, and the statistics that I gave you, they say that, meaning FBI and some other law enforcement agencies have come back with it. 85% of these home invasions, we'll use that phrase, are through the front door. The front door is being kicked in.
Now, what can people do about this? I mean, I know that there are things that people can buy or install. What are they?
Well, even before we get to target hardening, you're in that residence, you're in that home, going about your business. Not just an alarm system, but you need a device in the house that's going to let you know that someone is approaching, whether they're friend or foe. Okay? You really want a heads up. Okay.
And what's the best way to do that?
You could have a sensor at the door. That little sends off a chime inside the house that you have somebody coming up. Another technique that's used by them is, so you get a knock at the door and someone says, "Hey, I just had a car accident. Could I come in and use your phone? We're hurt." Don't be so quick to open up that door.
Right.
Are you expecting a delivery from UPS that day? You have a couple of young kids that come to the door and they say, "Hey, we're going around the neighborhood and we're looking for donations for school." There are so many different techniques that could be utilized to get you to open up that door for them. So again, you need a heightened sense of awareness.
Right. You need to know that this can happen to you. It doesn't just happen to everybody else but you.
Right.
And so when somebody knocks on that door, like you said, don't be quick to open it. Really identify who is there. Make sure you know that they're legit before you open that door. And if they're not, call the police, right?
Of course. Now, insofar as a tactic goes, getting to that door kicking.
Yes.
That is on par with what's known as essentially it's a technique of like a dynamic entry, okay? Meaning it's going to be rapid and aggressive, okay, and utilizing overwhelming force. Essentially what they're going to be doing is they're going to be catching you by surprise. You're most probably going to have, or expect rather, let's say a simultaneous attack, let's say from different entry points. Front door, the back door, sliding glass door. And you're going to have to be heads up, be aware you should be aware to expect that, okay?
So they may not just be coming into the front door. They could be coming in simultaneously to the back door. That would really be a problem. So then you've got 2 points of entry.
Sure. And so essentially what they're doing is their objective is to take control, okay, of you before you can react, okay?
Right.
Ideally, let's say they would do it during your normal sleep periods and other factors that may take you away from your alertness. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what do you do about it? How do you handle this? Well, the objective here is to slow them down. You've got that chime that went off outside. Somebody's come up, but now they're going to try and kick down that door. They're going to try and break the glass in the back of the house. They're going to try and gain entry into residence. Again, the object here is to slow them down so you can get prepared for an attack. Whether you have to call 911, if you're going to deploy firearms. There was a device there are several devices out there, but one device that's come to mind is manufactured by a company called Armor Concepts. And what it does is it actually reinforces the door. Okay? And it's a low-cost device. It attaches to your frame of your door, and they've had a great reputation. And it's low cost security. For the person who's going to try and kick down that door, kick it open, they're not going to be able to. They also have devices, same company, that'll take care of French doors or sliding glass doors. Right? And
those are notorious for being easy to break into. So this is a great thing if you can prevent that kind of entry with this device.
The windows nowadays with laminated glass. If you don't have laminated glass and you have single pane glass, you may want to get a type of an armor coat to cover the window, so that if somebody throws something through the window, it's not going to break that easily. Again, what you're doing is you're slowing these people down in order for you to prepare yourself to defend yourself.
Right. So that let's say, for example, somebody has been smart enough to invest in Armor Concepts product and they have their reinforced door frame. So they're trying to beat the door down and they can't. So then they may leave, hopefully, or if not, they're going to try something else, a window or some other, possibly an unsecured way of getting into the basement or something like that. So, again, what you're saying is you hear somebody trying to kick the door, and that buys you some time to try to get the police there, and also if you do have a license for a firearm, you're there to arm yourself and do what you have to do. So you can buy yourself enough time to, again, make the difference between life and death.
Correct.
So do these people give up easily? I mean, what happens? Like, what's your experience with this, Steve? I mean, do people, when they can't break down a door, let's say because these people have invested in Armor Concepts to reinforce the frame, so then is it likely that they'll move to another target outside the house to try to get in, or will they just go away? What do they do generally?
Well, from personal experience with family, they've actually moved on. If they can't.
Wow, see, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So
I don't have a complete data of how many times they just stood there and just kept going at it, meaning trying to break into the place, but they can't get in. They're not going to stand there for a lengthy period of time making an attempt. They're bringing way too much attention to themselves.
Right. They are. And plus, if you have your other ring of security, which is security cameras, you will be taking video of them attempting to do this. So then you've got more time to identify them and turn that information over to the police as well. So they are putting themselves at risk, these criminals, when they stand there long enough to be on video and possibly get identified. So
right.
Armor Concepts, people can find them at armorconcepts.com. That's ARMOR Concepts.com. The link is also on the Power Preppers Radio show page so that you can go there. There are videos and things you can watch. But you told me about this company, Steve, and I was immediately impressed because, again, anything that can buy you this kind of time and maybe even dissuade criminals altogether is invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's take the worst case scenario. So let's say people didn't buy Armor Concepts. Let's say that they've got a door that is easily broken down. And what do they do? I mean, what does somebody do when someone all of a sudden comes bursting through their door? What do you do?
Well, obviously everyone's going to be going about their normal business if they don't have an early warning device in the home. And you're really going to be obviously going to be taken by surprise. Okay, like I said before, this is essentially on par with what's known as a dynamic entry. It's going to be fast, aggressive, and essentially overtaken. And most probably what's going to happen is you're going to be overtaken with weapons. Okay? And it's probably not going to be just one person doing this. So the smart thing is, firearms, okay?
Right.
And even you're not going to walk around your house with a firearm constantly, unless you're really paranoid or scared out of your wits totally. But just
after reading these statistics, they might be. I'll tell you.
Well,
but anyway, go ahead.
The firearm is not making it alone. You still need that early warning. You still need that early warning device. Okay, to neglect a device such as what Armor Concepts is providing, and sometimes I'm even trying to plug them. It's kind of ridiculous when all you have to spend is $70 to purchase a product like that. People have these chains in their doors, and they're ridiculous. They just you kick it off, and the person comes right in. You have a false sense of security. So if you're going to do it, or prepare yourself, do it right. Okay?
Yeah. Well, and they're saying that and I think you quoted the statistics too, if I can just interrupt for a second, that 85% of all break-ins is somebody going right through the front door or your back door. Exactly. So I would think it's a window, but here it is. 85% is right through your door.
Exactly. Okay. Now,
and the door frame failure is the cause of it. So it's the frame that fails that allows them to get in.
Right. Now, and so far as firearms go, okay, and I think that It's a good idea to own them, so long as you understand the safe and proficient utilization of them. The key to this is learning how to shoot. Okay? In my career, I have come across so many instructors, and leaving it at that, that go for learning tactics more than learning the shooting basics, and that's the wrong approach. I'll put it to you this way.
Yeah, explain that to us. What are we looking for in a good teacher?
Well, before we even go into the teacher, okay, the single most important factor in determining and winning a gunfight is shot placement, being able to hit the target. The longer that person is standing in front of you, your chances of getting injured or getting killed are increasing dramatically. Your objective is to get this over with as quick as possible. The phrase CQB is close quarter battle. You're essentially within a distance of maybe 21 feet or 7 yards, say it that way, or even 10 yards for that matter, or even closer. You could even be point blank. You're standing toe-to-toe with someone. They may have a firearm firing at you. They may have a knife, a bat, crowbar, whatever it is. We're talking about imminent, deadly physical force. So this has gotten to, you have to get this over with quickly. Now, where did the basics come into play with this? It's through repetition and understanding and being able to hit the target. That's how you acquire it. So the basics, like anything else, you have to have the ABCs and understand the ABCs of it, shooting basics, before you start developing tactics. Tactics are something that's advanced, which we'll get to that topic a little bit later on. With shooting, as far as the basics go, there are 5 of them. There's stance, breathing, grip, sight alignment, and trigger control. The 2 most important things that a person's going to have is their trigger squeeze and their sights. Their stance, their breathing, and their grip are going to aid their sight alignment and trigger control. Now, almost every law enforcement agency in the United States teaches a person, a police officer, to shoot for center mass. The definition of that is the largest area of that person that's presented to them. So it's not always the chest area or the stomach area of the person. That's people misinterpret what that means. The reason why they're taught this is because, as it said, as stress increases, accuracy is going to decrease, so you go for the largest target. I'm no longer bound by a lesson plan that someone forces me to teach. The people who taught me, okay, always taught me that the only way, and it's just fact, the only way, the surefire way to stop someone immediately is to put a projectile into their central nervous system, which is the brainstem, the medulla oblongata, or the spinal cord. When you separate those 2, that's when the person stops immediately. As one of my teachers used to say, you're cutting the puppet strings, and the person stops instantaneously. Now, this is not an easy feat. And most instructors will say, you can't do it, because of the things that are happening to you both psychologically and physiologically during a firefight, meaning tunnel vision, loss of hearing, inability of counting rounds, subconscious motor survival, loss of manual dexterity. I say this is where I have more confidence in my student. The student does. I say if you're conditioning yourself to do a particular task constantly, when the proverbial waste hits the ventilator, you're going to revert back to what you trained yourself to do and not even remember doing it. Okay?
Yeah, and then
so
it's of
paramount. It's of paramount importance to being able to understand and learn the basics. There's an old expression in shooting: speed is fine, but accuracy is final.
Oh, I like that.
You have got to connect with the adversary. Police officers, I'll pick on New York City. Okay, They fire huge amounts of rounds of ammunition and miss the target. Okay? Their training is minimal. Okay? And it's a 30,000 or 35,000 police force. It's get them in, get them out. So there's no attention to detail. It's not really a one-on-one type of a training. So the person goes for a 46-hour course, a few days of tactics. They're put on the street to defend themselves or somebody else. And the city of New York or other baby politicians, when something happens, expect them to react like James Bond. The reason why I use that as an example is because the person who's the homeowner with the firearm cannot have the same mindset. You have to be able to go out there and learn how to use the equipment. And the more you use the equipment, the better you're going to get. It's like anything else. And your confidence level is going to go up. And also, too, your reaction time is going to get a heck of a lot better. It's going to get faster. Okay?
It is, and you're going to have more confidence, too, that God forbid something ever happens like this in your home. You will have all of that training and practice behind you, but you're still dealing with those other things, the psychological impact, the element of surprise that the criminals have over you, and other factors like that. But still, it does help to get the proper training, make sure you're licensed, know the laws in your state, all of those kinds of things when you're going to be dealing with a firearm. Now, I want to ask you, Steve, to please share the story with our audience that you did with me about the FBI having a firefight with 2 bank robbers and what happened with that and why you're mentioning this whole thing about accuracy and where to shoot and where to aim. If you could, please share that story.
Okay. Well, before I even get into that, when people are shooting handguns, when you're firing at an individual, body alarm reaction varies from person to person. Bullet wounds initially are self-sealing. So you don't see, like in the movies, meat and hair flying, the person being thrown against the wall. You don't get that telltale sign. Okay?
Right.
You could be firing at the individual and not even know that you're hitting them, and you're actually hitting them. Okay? This happens quite a bit. Okay? Now, going to the FBI shooting, back in 1986, the FBI went up against 2 bad guys by the name of Platt and Maddox down in Florida. These guys were doing numerous stick-ups, and these armed robberies that they were doing with some what we call heavy weapons. They were doing it with shoulder weapons, shotgun, Ruger Mini 14, 223. It was found out later on that these 2 guys were practicing with approximately 5,000 rounds a week in the Everglades. Okay?
Oh, my goodness.
Now, with my information, I believe is correct. After that shooting, the medical examiner who examined it deemed that the first shot in that firefight was from an FBI agent's weapon into one of the bad guys, and he deemed it to be a non-survivable gunshot wound. That non-survivable gunshot wound enabled one of the perpetrators to survive approximately 4 minutes, killing several FBI agents and wounding the others. Okay? The old torso shot, okay? The chest shot.
Right.
Just because someone is hit in their heart, lungs, in the chest cavity, doesn't mean that they're going to stop immediately. Okay? As going back to what I was explaining earlier about a central nervous system hit, meaning brainstem and spinal cord. And once again, these are not easy things to hit. So,
well, again, this is the story that you just shared.
In that shooting, you got to give credit to an agent, and I give credit to all the agents, but one in particular really stands out, and this has a lot to do with what happens in your home. Special Agent Ed Morales. And now, I've watched the FBI reenactment tape, and I've listened to his interview, of which transpired. Agent Ed Morales was shot in one of his arms with a rifle cartridge, and he says that my arm was turned inside out. He had one arm, essentially, operating.
Gosh.
So from a position of cover behind a car, he takes a shotgun, not taught to him by his firearms instructor. It's a Quantico, okay? As the old expression goes, and he used it, he improvised, adapted, and overcame. He took the shotgun between his legs, worked the action of the shotgun to chamber around, and returned fired with one arm. When he was out with that shotgun, when he ran out of ammunition, he picked up a handgun, and he moved in on the bad guys who were in a car, and he finished them off.
That's incredible. What does this have to do with home invasion? What?
It goes with every gunfight. You never give up. You continue to fight. As I said earlier, the single most important factor in determining a win in a gunfight is shot placement. Right?
Yes.
The other thing is your willingness to do it to somebody, to shoot someone. A lot of people can't do it.
A lot of people can't, and you bring up a very important point.
They get what's known as buck fever. The other thing is your willingness to survive an encounter. Okay? If you think you're going to die, chances are you are going to die. You have to will yourself to live. You have to fight back with everything you have. Okay?
Yes.
I'm sorry,
yes.
I interrupted you.
No, that's all right. I mean, this is, again, it's such a difficult thing to listen to about what is going to be required of you if, God forbid, you are facing this type of situation with a home invasion. But your persistence, your past training, your ability to think on your feet, all of these things are going to come into play and hopefully will help you survive, you and your family members. So we're going to take this opportunity for a short break. And then we're going to come right back and hear more about how to survive a home invasion. So stay tuned. If you have a question for Steve, call 646-478-0828. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
Are you ready for a new experience of freedom and powerful connection? Would you like a positive, effortless change in your life? Then come to CosmicFusion.com, where we offer the most advanced energy clearing and expansion techniques in the world, with a quantum vortex energy to activate your divine blueprint and life's purpose. When your soul leads the way with cosmic fusion and quantum vortex energy, you can break clear of past difficulties and blocks with the power of the Source. With Cosmic Fusion, the Source energy does the work for you. It's easy and effortless. Listen to our free meditation right from our Cosmic Fusion website, the Cosmic Code Meditation. Sign up for one of our interactive webinars today. Come to Cosmic Fusion, www.cosmicfusion.com, to experience an effortless awakening and transformation. Are you ready for an upgrade? Are you ready for a new experience of living in the fifth dimensional magic and powerful connection? Then visit CosmicFusion.com today. CosmicFusion.com.
Your property tax bill. Have you seen it lately? It's frightening. Your property taxes are going up while your home value is going down. It's time to fight back and win. For the real truth about the property tax system, get attorney Pat Quintilian's book, Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Attorney Quintilian answers all your questions and gives you the facts you need to fight a property tax bill that is spiraling out of control. You'll also read about what happens to property owners who don't check their property records, only to find out too late they're taxed on square footage, fixtures, and even buildings that they don't own. Is this happening to you? Learn your rights. Buy attorney Pat Quintilian's book today. Are You Getting Screwed on Your Property Taxes? How to Find Out and How to Fix It. Available on Amazon.com.
Sometimes life can be a challenge. Would you like insight and guidance to help you make the best choices right now? Contact Helene at angelslighthouse.com to make your personal appointment for a psychic reading or energy alignment. Helene is a direct channel to the angelic realm and is remarkably capable of connecting to the living as well as to your loved ones on the other side. Helene is available to clients all over the world via phone or Skype, and it's simple to set up a group reading anywhere. Visit angelslighthouse.com, where you'll find an easy way to schedule right online. And while you're there, sign up for the Angels Lighthouse newsletter and receive information on all the free energy circles, giveaways, and jewelry with a message. Visit angelslighthouse.com and contact Helene today.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Patricia Baker. I am your host for Power Preppers Radio. And today we are talking with security expert Steve Minguez on how to survive a home invasion. And I'm just going to take this opportunity to give you a few more statistics from the FBI. Again, every 12 seconds a home is invaded. There are 6,646 break-ins every day. Over 3.5 million burglaries per year. And also, this is an important one, burglaries happen usually between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., but home invasions happen between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. So these folks are clearly expecting to find you home. And as Steve has mentioned, they're there to do more than just walk through the door. So, Steve, welcome back, and let's take this a little further. Again, we were just talking about how some people may not want to use a gun or they don't feel comfortable. Well, those people shouldn't own a gun, right? They shouldn't have one unless, again, they feel comfortable and they have the proper training.
Well, yeah, they should. There's no reason to fear a firearm. You know, again, I can't get into someone's psyche, but it's a tool that's there to protect you and your family. Okay, besides being using it for recreational purposes. Especially this day and age, with this type of crime being committed, I couldn't see myself being home without one. Okay? To have that sense of security. If, God forbid, someone did come in the house and I had to save myself. Now, so getting proper training.
Let me just stop you for 1 second, because again, you're bringing up some really important points, and I know this is hard for some people to hear about how to shoot, where to shoot, and things like that. But I've also heard people say, well, I'll just pull the gun out and then they'll go away. That doesn't happen. They don't go away just because you're waving a gun around. They're willing to use theirs. If you have a gun, you have to be willing to use it if you're going to pull it out. The other thing is never, ever, from what I've been trained, and I know you'll back me on this, never aim for a peripheral shot is what you call it, like a hand, an arm, a leg. No, that's too hard to hit, especially when the adrenaline is kicking in and you have your tunnel vision. It's going to be a tough thing. So when you're thinking of just wounding someone, as you said before, that's not the way to plan for something like this and how to save your life.
You know, it's funny you bring that up. Many years ago, I was we had an officer from emergency service, or our equivalent of SWAT, who went to our so-called big bosses and said, hey, you know, we in the sniper team, we could shoot guns at the people. I think we could shoot guns at the people's hands. Now, I've seen this happen on some videotapes, you know, that were posted on YouTube. But as a result of him saying this, which sent me through the roof, we actually had to do testing on this on a military base. Mm-hmm. Some of the guns that we fired at became inoperable, but a lot of them were still operable. Okay? Trying to hit somebody in the, like you say, in the hand, to shoot the gun out of the hand is real Hollywood. Okay, not happening. I'll give you a case in point. A few years ago, in New York City, there was a bad guy who got into a firefight with some of our police officers. Our police officers fired 50 shots at him. They hit him 28 times out of 50. Wow. When he was hit, his wrist was broken. Okay, bones were sticking out of his hand. Okay, so this guy had a compound, I guess doctors would call it a compound fracture.
Yes.
With his broken hand, with his bones sticking out, he was still clutching the firearm, returning fire.
So that didn't work very well.
Right. Okay. Again, there are very few. It's a limited area that's going to stop someone immediately. Someone is shot, as I brought up before, within the chest area, the high chest area. Could you get one-stop shots out of something like that? Yeah, possibly, but it's not a guarantee. This person is hit. Chances are they're never going to know they're hit, especially if they're on any type of little goodies that came out of the medicine cabinet that morning. Cocaine, PCP comes into effect, pure rage, adrenaline dump. They're going to keep going. Okay? Deer hunters could support me on that. They shoot at a deer, they don't have a clean hit, and the deer takes off and runs hundreds of yards, and they're tracking this poor deer through the woods.
Right.
So it's not that easy.
No, it isn't.
Really isn't.
And I think, a lot of what you brought up, which is so important today, is also state of mind. And again, when somebody comes busting through your door like that and it takes you by surprise, you have to be able to psychologically think of yourself not as prey, but you have to think about yourself on the level they're at. You have to be the predator. You've got to fight for your life, and you've got to go after them too. And that's what I hear you saying, if I had to boil this down as advice for our audience members, that, okay, let's say our audience is some people in the audience that are not going to be having firearms, aren't comfortable with them. That's okay. We're not saying that in order to survive this, you have to have a firearm. But we are saying if you have one, make sure you have the right kind of training, make sure you practice, that you're licensed, that you follow the law, all of those kinds of things. But there are other things that you can tell people to do to survive a home invasion other than just the use of a firearm. Can you give us some examples of some of those?
Well, let's stick right now with as far as the proper training goes. Because,
okay.
Again, we're still on the topic of firearms here.
I know it's your favorite. And I'm not far behind you. But go ahead.
I do get a bang out of it.
Very funny.
Anyway,
so you're talking about training.
The consumer is not educated, understandably. Okay, they'll pick up a gun magazine, or nowadays they go on the internet and they read these fancy websites where they're going to go to these instructors and they're going to run around through barrels and obstacle courses and things, and it's a very entertaining type of a thing. And when they walk away, they think because they were entertained, they're proficient in utilizing the firearm. Going back with law enforcement, like I was telling you earlier about the tactics, okay? Not enough emphasis is placed on the basics in order to hit the target. So we have our police officers, and not just because a person is a police officer doesn't mean that they are knowledgeable in firearms. So we have our street police officers come up to us at my old place, and certain instructors put together a tactics course, okay? And the bosses downtown say, wow, this is great. This is fantastic. You have an individual who is shooting poorly, but he goes to the tactics course, and then he gives his feedback, and he says, you know what? This is fantastic. We should have been doing this all along. This is a wonderful thing. That person doesn't have the capability of evaluating something like that, okay? They're not
so but let me ask you, what do you recommend for
what I
recommend
is a person, when they're choosing their instructor, find out, don't just say, hey, well, they work in this particular place or they do this particular type of assignment. Find out who taught them. Okay? That's very important. What's their background? Find out exactly who taught them. As you would when you go to a doctor. Just because a doctor's working at Cornell in New York City, find out where this guy, find out everything you want to know about this guy. Okay?
But what's the name of the class?
Really
like the name of the course that someone should look for? Somebody should look for the name of a course. Would it be tactics?
It's not even a name of a particular course. I'll call it that, or company. It's who's in that company. What's their background? Does it pertain to what you want? Okay, that's extremely important. Okay? Now,
it is important, but I can't say it's going to be easy to find. I mean, again, I can look in the phone book and find a whole bunch of people that are teaching firearms instruction, but I don't have your expertise and your knowledge about what you can look for.
But I would sit down with the individuals and say, okay, who taught you? Patricia, when I testify as an expert witness, okay, prior to my going into that courtroom, the district attorneys have always asked me, they said, fine, you went to firearms instructor school in New York City Police Department. You worked with emergency service for X amount of years. You taught recruits. You did in-service training. That's wonderful. But here's the question. Where did you learn how to do this prior to going to that firearms and tactics section? Who taught you? And I had to explain myself.
I know. I do understand that. So I think since we have just about 10 minutes here, I want to see if I can move this along. Because for our average consumer, what you're telling them is find out the background on the person who's teaching the class. That makes sense.
Correct.
And then what would be the next step?
Start at the ABCs. Start at shooting basics, learning how to utilize that firearm proficiently, safely. Okay? And then once you're able to hit that target the way you're supposed to, okay, then you could graduate to the fancy tactics. You have to, with this altercation inside the home, it's not all about tactics. It's about being able to hit the target next. And I'll give you a little bit of tactics because I know we're going to discuss this on our next show.
Yes.
The place to stop these guys is at the door. You don't want them coming in. You want to jam those people up in that doorway. Okay? The expression in the business nowadays, they use an expression called the fatal funnel, but that's just another fancy coin for a phrase that tactics instructors use. What you're doing is you're jamming them up in that doorway. They're not expecting that. You have the early warning device. That little alarm system went off. You've got an Armor Concepts device on the door where these guys are having a hard time to kick in. Let's say they even bypassed that. But it took them like 10, 20 tries to kick down that door. Maybe it defeated it. But at least at that time, you've prepared yourself that, hey, you know what? Joe Bad Guy is coming through the door. Now when he comes to the door, he's not expecting you to stand there with your handgun or shoulder weapon and to engage him. Okay?
That's right.
And now he's in a world of you know what. Okay?
Right.
And when you're doing this, you have to remember, as the old military expression goes, watch your six, meaning watch your back, because you could have people coming from different positions. So you have to start thinking, and that's really the word for tactics. It's actually really thinking about what you're doing. Okay, opening up your mind, not being narrow-minded. All you have to do is really think. Okay. And that's really going to help you out quite a bit. Okay?
Well, it will, because you need to start thinking quickly about how to get the advantage on people who are coming in and with just the element of surprise have a bit of an advantage over you.
But by slowing them down, it's going to get you to be able to take that breath, so to speak. It's not like you're going to be sitting on a couch or you're in the shower someplace, or going about whatever business that you're doing in your home, and all of a sudden the door just blows open. Okay, that's a technique that law enforcement uses, and we use it very, very effectively during dynamic entries. Okay,
right.
Okay? The bad guys, mind you, if I still have a moment here,
yes,
there are bad guys that have actually joined the military to learn tactics to use them to commit crimes.
That's not comforting, yes, and I'm sure that's exactly what they do. So, again, it's like giving us, as the average people on the street, the average homeowner, a chance to think about this. It can happen to you, everybody out there. It can happen, and so you need to think about this. So God forbid that it does. you have some options, you have some choices, and you have a means to survive something like this. And now you and I, Steve, have talked at length about the rings of security, about getting a security gate or having driveway alarms, cameras, a well-lit area so that you can identify people that may be coming up your walkway. And then also, on top of that, today you mentioned the Armor Concepts product, which sounds fantastic. And
right.
I definitely want to endorse that product because it sounds like it will buy time. It will hopefully, in the best sense, keep these guys away. They try it once, they can't get in, they'll be gone. But then, again, let's say they come in through a window or something. You don't have the window film protection, and they're able to shatter glass and get in that way.
Right.
Then you have to think about what's going to happen. If you're trained in firearms, then you can get your firearm. That'll give you moments to do that. And like you said, greet them at the door. That's the place to stop them if you can. But now I'm going to bring you back to my other question because there are people listening today that don't have firearms and don't want a firearm. What is at least one thing you can suggest to them to do?
Well, they're going to have to start using improvised weapons.
Okay.
I'm not going. I mean, I hate to go up against people who are coming into my house to kill me with a can of pepper spray. Okay?
Right. Although it's not a bad idea if that's all you have.
There are a lot of tools in that kitchen, big knives, things of that nature. Police officers are always taught the worst place you want to be inside of a house is a kitchen. That's I'm not giving any secrets away. That's well known throughout the United States. Okay, there are a lot of things in there: pots, pans, knives, forks. Okay, you're going to have to start improvising weapons very quickly. Okay, the homeowner who says, "Hey, I have an aluminum bat. I'll use an aluminum bat on him." Once again, this person may not be coming into the house unarmed. Chances are they're not going to, and they're going to be coming in with firearms, or they're going to be coming in with knives. Personally, I'm not a knife fighter. I don't purport to be one. I would not want to be involved in a knife fight. No, thank you. But again, I don't want to stand there toe-to-toe with somebody with a kitchen knife while they have a knife, and we're starting to slash each other with knives inside of a home. It's not my, it's not my idea
your weapon of choice.
Yeah, exactly. It's not my idea of a good time, so to speak.
Right.
So again, you're going to have to start improvising, and unfortunately, what happens is people say, "Wow, you know what? We were home invaded. Yeah, you know what? We survived it, and but maybe we should get a gun now." Or maybe we should get an attack dog. That's the ticket. We'll have an attack dog. Okay. Now, having a dog in the house is wonderful. Okay. But if you're going up against somebody like me who breaks into the house with my skill, who breaks into the house, and I see the dog there, well, you have a $20,000 canine there, guard dog. I'm going to shoot it.
Unfortunately, I understand what you're saying.
And there goes your guard dog.
Right.
Okay? So, again, it may be distasteful to people. People may have this political thing where, oh, my God, I'm not going to do it. Or I've heard police officers tell people, you shouldn't have a gun in the house because chances are someone's going to use it on you. Okay? Well, I'd like them to tell me that. Okay?
Right. And again, I think they're talking about people who aren't trained.
This is because, not because I'm a hotshot, it's because I'm trained, I've been conditioned. And that's what a person has to do. Okay? A lot of, like you said, understandable. A lot of people do not want firearms in the house. They have little kids in the house, and they're thinking that even though they have a safe in the house with a firearm, the kiddies are going to get to it. We all know that children do climb into things, okay? I call them little terrorists because they can climb anywhere and get access to anything that they want. But, again, you have to, as I've taught police officers, insofar as securing firearms in a home and understanding who you're dealing with other people inside the house, insofar as securing goes, these things have to be taken into consideration. But if you don't have any firearms, sticking with your question, you're going to have to start going to improvised weapons. Now, if you're willing to deploy a big kitchen knife to defend yourself again, my question is back to the person who doesn't want the firearm. So you would rather use a huge kitchen knife or a butcher knife and fight your way that way than utilize a firearm that you're properly trained in? Or it doesn't make sense.
Well, I agree with you. I think, though, I know plenty of people who are against guns. They don't want to own one. They think no one should own one, and I disagree with them on all fronts. I think, again, with the proper training, it is something that is everybody's right to have in this country, and certainly it's protected by law that way. However, there again, some of these people, you're never going to convince them, so we have to, and I feel responsible to our audience to give them some alternatives. Now,
well, they're going to have to use it. Like I said, they're going to have to use either improvised weapons, bail out of the house, jump out of the window, or something.
Exactly. That's another option.
You know, that bailing out of your home is going to have to be an option because you're literally unarmed. Okay, a police response. Do you have an idea how long it takes the average police officer to get there to help you out?
How long?
Sometimes like 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay?
And what can
if you're
happen
in New York,
if
you're in New York City, and there's what we call you're in a backlog of radio runs, and you've got 30 radio runs piled up on you, and you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic, and no one's getting out of your way, even though you're putting a siren on to try and help somebody out. How long is it going to take that person to kick that door open, if you don't even have a device there, come into the house and take control of you, rape, rob you, murder you? It's going to be seconds. One good kick on that door, and they're in. The police are not there. They're not going to be able to protect you. You have to protect yourself. Okay.
Well, yeah, you've said that a lot. That it's not even really their job to protect you in your own home. And so, again, for people that don't want to engage with these people at all and are not armed properly, trained properly, they can bail out of the house. If they can get out fast enough, that's one other option. Another option that we will be talking about next week is a safe room. So that would be a room that is impenetrable, and you can go in there with your family and lock yourself in, have access to telephone in there, and call the police from there. But if you don't have a safe room, then bailing out of the house is the only option you really have.
Right.
So there's a lot to think about here. There's a lot of choices, Steve, and I know we've gone over a lot of material today for people, especially this Armor Concepts product, which I totally endorse. I think it's a great thing to have to buy time, to keep you safe, to dissuade these criminals and just send them on their way. You don't want them in your house, as you said. And, again, the rings of security that we talked about, so important. Gates, driveway alarms, good safety lighting, and security alarm systems. So all of these things are help. All of these things are deterrents to criminals. All of these things will slow them down. But the bottom line is, if they get in your house, then you have to know what to do. And, you and I talked about this before, mentality with this. And criminals coming in with the mentality, I'm the predator, you're the prey. And when your door gets broken down, you're thinking, I'm the prey, which is not a good way to think. So, again, some of this is conditioning that you've learned through the years in your training. You've got to think like they do. You can't think like I'm the prey and they're just going to take over. You really do, as you said, have to fight tooth and nail, be as persistent as you can, don't give up. That takes a whole different mindset.
Right. Yes, it does. It does. You have to reprogram yourself.
You really do. You really do. And again, these are pretty scary statistics. Every 12 seconds, a home invasion occurs by somebody going right through the front or back door. So keep that in mind, everybody, not to scare you, but to bring your awareness up to where it needs to be to keep you and your family safe. We are going to continue this conversation about how to survive a home invasion next week with Steve Minguez again. And please send me your questions if there's anything that you want Steve to address in next week's show. Happy to hear about it and answer this for you. It's a very, very important topic, and you need to know what to do. This is just happening way too frequently in the United States today. So thank you, Steve, again, for your time and all of your great information on the show. And we'll be talking again next week, same time, same bat station, right? 1 to 2 o'clock on Thursday. And we will be continuing How to Survive a Home Invasion Phase 2. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Steve. And we'll be talking again about this next week.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
We interrupt this broadcast for an emergency.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next week for another terrific episode of Power Preppers with Patricia Baker.